Stepping Heavenward by E. Prentice. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Anna Christensen. Stepping Heavenward by E. Prentice. Chapter 16. October. We are all at home together once more. The parting with Mother was very painful. Every year that she lives now increases her loneliness, and makes me long to give her the shelter of my home. But in the midst of these anxieties, how much I have to make me happy! Little Ernest is the life and soul of the house. The sound of his feet pattering about, and all his prattle, are the sweetest music to my ear, and his heart is brimful of love and joy, so that he shines on us all like a sunbeam. Baby is improving every day, and is one of those tender, clinging little things that appeal to everybody's love and sympathy. I never saw a more angelic face than hers. Father sits by the hour looking at her. Today he said, "Daughter Catherine, this lovely little one is not meant for this sinful world." "The world needs to be adorned with lovely little ones," I said, "and Baby was never so well as she is now." "Do not set your heart too fondly upon her," he returned. "I feel that she is far too dear to me. But, Father, we could give her to God if he should ask for her. Surely we love him better than we love her." But as I spoke a sharp pang shot through and through my soul, and I held my little fair daughter closely in my arms, as if I could always keep her there. It may be my conceit, but it really does seem as if poor Father was getting a little fond of me. Ever since my own sickness I have felt a great sympathy for him, and he feels, no doubt, that I give him something that neither Ernest nor Martha can do, since they were never sick one day in their lives. I do wish he could look more at Christ and at what he has done and is doing for us. The way of salvation is to me a wide path, absolutely radiant with the glory of him who shines upon it. I see my shortcomings, I see my sins, but I feel myself bathed, as it were, in the effulgent glow that proceeds directly from the throne of God and the Lamb. It seems as if I ought to have some misgivings about my salvation, but I can hardly say that I have one. How strange, how mysterious that is! And here is Father, so much older, so much better than I am, creeping along in the dark. I spoke to Ernest about it. He says I owe it to my training in a great measure, and that my mother is 50 years in advance of her age. But it can't be all that. It was only after years of struggle and prayer that God gave me this joy. November 24th. Ernest asked me yesterday if I knew that Amelia and her husband had come here to live, and that she was very ill. "I wish you would go to see her, dear," he added. "She is a stranger here, and in great need of a friend." I felt extremely disturbed. I have lost my old affection for her, and the idea of meeting her husband was unpleasant. "Is she very sick?" I asked. "Yes, she is completely broken down. I promised her that you should go to see her." "Are you attending her?" "Yes, her husband came for me himself." "I don't want to go," I said. "It will be very disagreeable." "Yes, dear, I know it, but she needs a friend, as I said before." I put on my things very reluctantly, and went. I found Amelia in a richly furnished house, but looking untidy and ill cared for. She was lying on a couch in her bedroom. 3 delicate-looking children were playing about, and their nurse sat sewing at the window. A terrible fit of coughing made it impossible for her to speak for some moments. At last she recovered herself sufficiently to welcome me, by throwing her arms around me and bursting into tears. "Oh, Katy," she cried, "should you have known me if we had met in the street? Don't you find me sadly altered?" "You are changed," I said, "but so am I." "Yes, you do not look strong, but then you never did, and you are as pretty as ever, while oh, Kate, do you remember what round white arms I used to have? Look at them now." And she drew up her sleeve, poor child. Just then I heard a step in the passage, and her husband sauntered into the room, smoking. "Do go away, Charles," she said impatiently. "You know how your cigars set me coughing." He held out his hand to me with the easy, nonchalant air of one who is accustomed to success and popularity. I looked at him with an aversion I could not conceal. The few years since we met has changed him so completely that I almost shuddered at the sight of his already bloated face, and at the air that told of a life worse than wasted. "Do go away, Charles," Amelia repeated. He threw himself into a chair without paying the least attention to her, and still addressing himself to me again, said, "Upon my word, you are prettier than ever." And, "I will come again to see you at another time, Amelia," I said, putting on all the dignity I could condense in my small frame, and rising to take leave. "Don't go, Katy," he cried, starting up. "Don't go. I want to have a good talk about old times." Katy, indeed! How dared he? I came away burning with anger and mortification. Is it possible that I ever loved such a man? That to gratify that love I defied and grieved my dear mother through a whole year? Oh, from what hopeless misery God saved me, when he snatched me out of the depth of my folly. December 1st. Ernest says I can go to see Amelia with safety now, as her husband has sprained his ankle and keeps to his own room. So I am going to her, but I am sure I shall say something imprudent or unwise, and I wish I could think it right to stay away. I hope God will go with me and teach me what words to speak. December 2nd. I found Amelia more unwell than on my first visit, and she received me again with tears. "How good you are to come again so soon," she began. "I did not blame you for running off the other day. Charlie's impertinence was shameful. He said, after you left, that he perceived you had not yet lost your quickness to take offence, but I know he felt that you showed a just displeasure, and nothing more." "No, I was really angry," I replied. "I find the road to perfection lies uphill, and I slip back so often that sometimes I despair of ever reaching the top." "What does the doctor say about me?" she asked. "Does he think me very sick?" "I dare say he will tell you exactly what he thinks," I returned, "if you ask him. This is his rule with all his patients." "If I could get rid of this cough I should soon be myself again," she said. "Some days I feel quite bright and well, but if it were not for my poor little children, I should not care much how the thing ended. With the life Charlie leads me, I haven't much to look forward to." "You forget that the children's nurse is in the room," I whispered. "Oh, I don't mind Charlotte. Charlotte knows he neglects me. Don't you, Charlotte?" Charlotte was discreet enough to pretend not to hear this question, and Amelia went on. "It began very soon after we were married. He would go round with other girls exactly as he did before. Then, when I spoke about it, he would just laugh in his easy, good-natured way, but pay no attention to my wishes. Then, when I grew more in earnest, he would say that as long as he let me alone, I ought to let him alone. I thought that when our first baby came, that would sober him a little, but he wanted a boy, and it turned out to be a girl, and my being unhappy and crying so much made the poor thing fretful. It kept him awake at night, so we took another room. After that I saw him less than ever, though now and then he would have a little love fit, when he would promise to be at home more and treat me with more consideration. We had 2 more little girls, twins, and then a boy. Charlie seemed quite fond of him, and did certainly seem improved, though he was still out a great deal with a set of idle young men, smoking, drinking wine, and I don't know what else. His uncle gave him too much money, and he had nothing to do but to spend it." "You must not tell me any more now," I said. "Wait till you are stronger." The nurse rose and gave her something which seemed to refresh her. I went to look at the little girls, who were all pretty, pale-faced creatures, very quiet and mature in their ways. "I am rested now," said Amelia, "and it does me good to talk to you, because I can see that you are sorry for me." "I am indeed," I cried. "When our little boy was 3 months old I took this terrible cold and began to cough. Charlie at first remonstrated with me for coughing so much. He said it was a habit I had got, and that I ought to cure myself of it. Then the baby began to pine and pine, and the more it wasted the more I wasted, and at last it died." Here the poor child burst out again, and I wiped away her tears as fast as they fell, thankful that she could cry. "After that," she went on after a while, "Charlie seemed to lose his last particle of affection for me. He kept away more than ever, and once when I besought him not to neglect me and my children so, he said he was well paid for not keeping up his engagement with you, that you had some strength of character, and—" "Amelia," I interrupted, "do not repeat such things. They only pain and mortify me." "Well," she sighed wearily, "this is what he has at last brought me to. I am sick and broken-hearted, and care very little what becomes of me." There was a long silence. I wanted to ask her if, when earthly refuge failed her, she could not find shelter in the love of Christ. But I have what is,